Hello, scholars, and welcome to Lesson 9 in our Reading Mastery book. We are still reading about Old Henry and Tim. So everyone find Lesson 9 in your textbook. We're going to start today like we start every day in reading. We're going to do our vocabulary words. Then I will read the information passage. And then I will read the story for today. After I finish reading the story for the day, you are to read the story of today out loud to a parent, a sibling, a pet, a stuffed animal, or just to yourself. It's really important that you're reading to yourself out loud. It really gets our fluency up. All right, that was plenty of time to find Lesson 9 in your textbook. If you still are looking, you can pause your device. All right, here we go. Find Lesson 9 in your textbook. Touch column 1. Word 1 says constant. What word? Word 2 says sir. What word? Word 3 says season. What word? Word 4 says 70. What word? Word 5 says daylight. What word? Word 6 says herding. What word? Word 7 says winter time. What word? Let's read those words the fast way. Word 1, what word? Word 2, what word? Word 3, what word? Word 4, what word? Word 5, what word? Word 6, what word? Word 7, what word? Excellent. Find column 2. Part of the word is underlined. First we will say the first part, and then we will say the whole word. Word 1, what's the underlined part? Tilt. What's the whole word? Tilted. Word 2, what's the underlined part? Cloud. What's the whole word? Cloudy. Word 3, what's the underlined part? Friend. What's the whole word? Friends. Word 4, what's the underlined part? Splash. What's the whole word? Splashing. Word 3, what's the underlined part? Reach. What is the whole word? Reaches. Good. Number 6, what's the underlined part? Honk. What's the whole word? Honking. Okay, now let's read them the fast way. So I'll say what word and you'll say the whole thing, not just the underlined part. Okay, ready? Word 1, what word? Word 2, what word? Word 3, what word? Word 4, what word? Word 5, what word? Word 6, what word? Very good. All right, there's a column 3 today. These are the names of different places. Number 1 says South Carolina. What place? Word 2 says Georgia. What place? Word 3 says Newman's Lake. What word? What place? Good. Word 4 says Jackson Lake. What place? Word 5 says Clarks Hill Lake. What place? Very good. Let's do those the fast way. Number 1, what place? Number 2, what place? Number 3, what place? Number 4, what place? Number 5, what place? Very good, scholars. Find part B in your textbook. Whoa. Let's go back. I have a mystery word today. My mystery word has 2 syllables in it. It is an adjective. If you've forgotten what adjective is, I'm going to sing you a little song right now that you learned in 2nd grade. Are you ready for it? Adjectives, adjectives, colors and numbers, colors and numbers. They describe all nouns we find, tell who's, how many, or what kind. Now keep 3 articles in your mind. They're a and the, a and the. Okay, so it's an adjective. It has 2 syllables. It is in column 1. What is it? Colors and numbers, hint, hint, hint. Yes, 70 is the mystery word of the day. All right, everybody turn to part B in your textbook. The error limit for this reading is, oh, we don't have that in the information passage. Find your information passage. Everyone touch the title. Everybody, what's the title? the sun and the earth. Here we go. Here's a rule about the earth and the sun. The earth is moving around the sun all the time. I'm going to say that again. The earth is moving around the sun all the time. Let's keep reading. The earth makes a complete circle around the sun one time every year. I'm going to read that again. The earth makes a complete circle around the sun one time every year. A year is 365 days, so it takes the earth 365 days to make a complete circle around the sun. The picture shows the earth at 4 different times of the year as it circles the sun. Scholars, the picture shows 4 Earths. That's the same Earth, it's just at 4 different times of the year. Okay, there's only one Earth. I think we knew that. Okay, let's keep reading. Touch a picture of the Earth during winter. Notice how much of the Earth is in shadow and how much is in sunlight. Half of the Earth is in sunlight, half is in shadow. Let's keep reading. Follow the arrow around the sun and name the season that is shown by each Earth. Start with the Earth at winter time. Everybody follow the arrow to the next picture. So if we go from winter, what comes next? Spring. Very good. After spring, then what? Summer. And then what? Fall. Very good. Remember, the earth is in different places at different seasons of the year. Okay, so the way that I remember the way the seasons go is I think about the school year, right? So we have fall, and then what comes after fall? Winter, because we have like our winter break and it's really cold. And then it warms up at the end of the school year, spring, and then summertime. Woohoo! Awesome. All right. Everybody, find part C in your textbook. The error limit for this story is 13 errors. So be listening for Mrs. Halverson. If she makes over 13 errors, she's going to have to read it again. All right, here we go. Everybody touch the title. Everybody, what's the title? Flying with the Flock. After the geese from the large flock finished talking with old Henry, they went over to their flock. As soon as they had left, Tim said, "When is that other flock going to fly?" "Tomorrow," Henry said. "We planned to fly tomorrow, didn't we?" "Yes," Henry said. "Well, why did you say I would fly with them? I thought I was flying with you." Old Henry said, "Tim, I'm not sure I can make it all the way to Florida. If you can go with them, they'll drop you off at Crooked Lake." "But what will you do?" Tim asked. "Aren't you going to fly with them too?" "Well," old Henry said. He wanted to tell Tim that he didn't plan to go any further south, but Tim looked very sad. So old Henry said, "Well, I'll go with them as far as I can. I'll fly with them tomorrow, and then I'll see how I feel at the end of the day." Scholars, Henry didn't tell Tim what he really wanted to do. What did old Henry really want to do? That's right, he wanted to be done flying. He did not want to go any further south. What did he tell Tim he would do? Fly with the flock as far as he could. So Henry changed his plans again, didn't he? He did. "Well, I'm going where you go," Tim said. "If you fly with them after tomorrow, I'll fly with them. But if you don't fly with them after tomorrow, I won't fly with them." "We'll see how tomorrow goes." Error. Here we go. "We'll see how it goes tomorrow," Henry said. What was Tim going to do if Henry kept flying with the other flock? That's right, Tim said he would go with the other flock, but only if old Henry went with the other flock too. And then what was Tim going to do if Henry didn't keep flying with the other flock? Yeah, he said he was going to stay behind with old Henry. Let's keep reading. So the next morning, more than 80 geese took off from that pond in Kentucky and formed a great V in the sky. The leader was near the front of the V, but he was not at the very point of the V. He was back a few places so he could see in front of the V and honk out orders to the other geese. Old Henry and Tim were far behind the leader. Tim was right behind a young goose. Old Henry was in front of one of the older geese. So do you see where Tim and Old Henry are in the flock? And then that leader is like the fourth in line. He doesn't do the point. Let's keep reading. After the flock started climbing, it was nearly 2 miles high. Tim called out to Henry, I noticed that it is a lot easier to fly than it was when you and I were alone. Right, Henry said. It's easier flying in a large flock. Why? Old Henry explained. We are behind a lot of other geese. Those geese fly through the air and leave a trail of wind that moves in the same direction the geese are moving. We're flying through that air, so we don't have to work as hard as the geese up front. Listen to that part again. We are behind a lot of other geese. Those geese fly through the air and leave a trail of wind that moves in the same direction the geese are moving. We're flying through that air, so we don't have to work as hard as the geese up front. Let's keep reading. Tim said, That's good for us, but I sure wouldn't want to be one of those geese up front. Henry said, All the geese that are up front take turns at being the first goose in the V. They fly at the point for an hour or more, and then they change places with another goose. Then Henry noticed that his wing wasn't as sore as it had been. He hadn't been thinking about that wing because it hadn't been hurting. Henry realized that it hadn't been hurting because it didn't have to work as hard as it did when he and Tim flew alone. Henry said to himself, if it doesn't get any harder than this, maybe... ... How is old Henry's wing feeling now? A lot better, right? Why wasn't it hurting as much? Because it was easier to fly with the flock, that's right. And then if his wing keeps feeling good, what do you think he's going to do? Yeah, maybe. Let's keep reading. He still wasn't sure how he would feel the next morning when the rest of the flock was ready to fly again. Later that afternoon, when the sky was starting to get very cloudy, the great V of geese went lower and lower through the clouds and came out of them above a beautiful green lake. Tim asked Henry, What's that lake? Henry said, I don't know. This is not the route I've taken. We always land at Clark's Hill Lake. It's much bigger than this lake and it's further east. Then Henry asked the old goose behind him, What's the name of this lake? Of that lake, error 2. What is the name of that lake? Jackson Lake. About 10 minutes later, the flock landed on Jackson Lake. Scholars, look at the map. Do you see Clark's Hill Lake? That's where old Henry usually stops. It's right in between Georgia and South Carolina. Now, if you look at Jackson Lake, the lake that they're stopping in when they're in the big flock right now, that's just in Georgia. And it's further east. Okay. That is the end of today's story. Awesome Blossom. Let's find lesson 9 in our packet. Scholars, some of you have been doing really great on answering your questions, and some of you have not been answering in full sentences, so I'm not very impressed. Okay, but I think today we're going to be awesome because not only are we writing in full sentences, we're asking our own questions. Okay, so here we go. Lesson 9, readers ask themselves questions. Think about the stories we have read about old Henry and Tim. Write 3 questions you could ask somebody about the story. So if you were going to quiz someone about the story, you don't want to make it too easy, but you don't want to make it like super impossible to find. So, good question starting words. Who, when, where, why, what, how, did. And then your extra challenge is to try to use a different question word for each of your questions. So in question 1, if my question, I wanted to do question 1, I would ask maybe, where does old Henry's flock stop? Where does Old Henry's flock stop? That is in between Florida. Oops, not Florida. You guys better be writing in pencil. I'm writing in pen. I made a mistake, and now it looks really sloppy. Between Georgia and South Carolina. So I'm asking, where does Old Henry's flock stop that is between Georgia and South Carolina? Usually, right? He didn't stop this time because he was with a different flock, but where does his flock usually land? Okay, so that's my first question. You need to write the answer, okay? Do you notice that I used where as my first question word? That means I'm not going to use where again, so I'm going to cross that out. Now I have who, when, why, what, how, did. Okay? I know. How did, or no, why did Old Henry's wings start feeling better? Okay, and now that I've used why and where, I can't use those. And then maybe who told Old Henry what lake they were stopping at? Do you remember? It's not a big character. It was just some random one. So who told Henry what lake they were on? So I used the question words where, why, and who. 3 different question words, okay? I want you to do the same thing. I look forward to seeing what questions you guys came up with and the answers to your questions. So go ahead, fill that out by yourself. Take a picture of it, upload it to our classroom, and I will see you tomorrow in reading. Bye, friends.